But yeah, that was pretty special. You know, I really feel that the BTCC is going from strength to strength, and it's been a really interesting sort of journey from super touring. And at the beginning, when this this new format of car, this next generation touring car came out,
that was 2001, that wasn't it?
Yeah. I thought that it would like numb the racing, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I was the same as well, because with the super tourists, as you said, the race then was sensational. It was amazing to watch. You just hit someone off, you drive away, you don't get a penalty, like what you do with the new cars.
I think the new cars, there's more scope for this. The new cars don't seem to be as sort of, how can I put it, like highly strung. I know that they're running about half the brake horsepower and everything else, and the technology is more advanced now. But it seems to be that the cars are actually more reliable. You don't seem to see many cars actually breaking down due to engine failure.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's. I wasn't really sure at the start of the season about the ballast and the weight going in each individual car, but it seems to have spiced the racing up really nicely.
Except for Rob Collard, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm sure Rob's not that happy, but I think that's just the disadvantage of having a rear-wheel drive car this year. I think having a rear-wheel drive car last year it was a major advantage. I think this year it's a major disadvantage, but that's my own personal opinion. Yeah.
I think with the rear end driven drive cars, they're getting a lot more punishment because of also with the clutch, because they're getting, is it more weight at the front on that as well?
Yeah,
it's like a more heavier car that they've got. So it's like 75 kilo plus their weight at the front for the fairness of the clutch, still, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, there's a mechanical advantage with that, and I think what they should actually do is make them. You know, at the end of the day, as a manufacturer or as a team, you make your decisions, you select your car, and you sort of, you know, you can't fault WSR for wanting to pick a rear-wheel drive car. I don't think they should be punished just because it's either or. You know, you get to certain circuits that suit certain cars, and I don't understand why one team should be punished over another for doing that. You know, it's a bit crazy, really. Yeah,
I think BMW is not looking forward towards Thruxton, the next race meeting, because their cars are normally down on power, aren't they? And Thruxton's a fast circuit, so I mean that's really going to hurt Prio, Collard, and Tordorf as well.
Yeah, and I mean the main issue with that, evidently, with that extra weight on, is whoever has to run the soft tyre in that race, and where they actually
killed. They are going to be killed.
You know, but will we see things like we did last season, where we had that one meeting where it was full of accidents, and then Dunlop have a rethink about what they're actually going to do? You know, because they do actually have a special tyre for that round as well, don't they? If my memory serves.
Yeah, they've got a special tyre for that, but it still causes a lot of punctures still. With all the drivers attacking the curbs, like at Campbell, Cobb, Seagrave, the club chicane as well. Maybe even Church as well, because that's nearly a flat out corner too as well, and that gives the tyres a good punishment as well.
I mean, they've gone really down on track limits this year, and that's been sort of tightening up for some time now. I mean, do you think that, I know it's the MSV circuits that really do it, so all the Palmer style ones, Brands Hatch, Alton Park, all those ones, but do you feel that other circuits, as like the BTCC, need to take a stand on track limits? Because I kind of like them skipping the corners. It kind of makes that sort of, you know, seeing someone like Andy Jordan go through a set of chicanes on two wheels, you know, and Paul O'Neill, when he was racing, was the master at that stuff. He really did, mate. He did. You know, he lost a second every lap, but you watched him.
Yeah. I think with the track limits as well, I think what you said was pretty much what I was going to say as well. I think every racing driver, they want to find that bit more to try and gain a bit, so they try and like maybe shortcut it as well. Yeah, but I think as well, what from the racing yesterday in the Ginetta Juniors, there was a lot of drivers in the Ginetta Juniors going off at what was it again? Redgate, the Old Hairpin, McLean's as well. There was a lot of drivers going off there.
I think that's down to the camber shift in the car, because when they're getting the weight shift between front and rear in something like a Ginetta Junior, I mean, with a touring car, at least the teams know, okay, we've got to put the weight on and it's bad for the car, but at least they can select where it sits in the car to make it at least handle properly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as well, Croft as well. Croft's a good example. After the first corner, they have like a tricky chicane, but the drivers just go straight through it. They just don't bother going and turning. I think it was right and then left. They just go straight on.
Yeah, I was at a training day a few years back. I went on a what they call the Blendini Scholarship, which is Mazda MX-5s, and the guy who was doing the instructing there was an ex-touring car driver, and he was basically saying on that course that when touring car drivers get and I don't know if this is still true, but when he was racing in it and testing for those teams, any chicane, what he used to do in one of the old style touring cars was literally let go of the steering wheel and just get accelerate, because no matter how fast they move the wheel, it couldn't be as quick as the engine actually, 500 brake horsepower just making the car go straight when you floored it, and it's kind of scary that some of them actually, still drive like that, it's blatantly obvious to see.
That'd be weird though, driving out anyway. It was like, oh, I'm going down in the corner and hi.
Yeah. It's just like, it was literally they sort of aim it at a chicane and then split second just let go of the steering wheel and let the car bounce off out the curbs either side and wait for the vibration to happen and then just grab back on the wheel again. And it was literally just a couple of millimeters off the steering wheel. And when I first heard that, I was just like, no. I couldn't. I think I'd run out of brave pills at exactly that point,
I would hate the chicane at Croft though after Hawthorne's, the first corner.
Yeah.
With them attacking the curb as well, I think you would have to hold on to the steering wheel then.
Yeah, and I mean, yesterday the one that really got me yesterday was the MSA race, the Formula Ford. The Formula Ford replacement, the Formula 4.
Just MSC Formula, that's what it was.
Yeah, that particular, to me, it'll always be Formula Ford in my head. And again, briefly watch the highlights because I've just been on a massive day of work. It's like the guy who span off and across the track. It reminds me, it was a similar sort of place, if you remember a few years ago when Plato was in the Silverline Chevrolet. And he went in that bank there and rolled 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
he's going down the crane of curves. He speared off to the right and went in there and had quite an heavy impact in there. And it seemed to be that the bump that upset Plato back then upset that Formula car. The Formula cars didn't look as stable through the crane of curves yesterday. And I was just wondering whether, there's something in when they've perhaps reprofiled it or retarmac those crane of curves that is unsettling the touring cars, because everybody seemed to not be, apart from Shedden, obviously, who somehow must use magic and shutting his eyes.
That is a brave corner to go flat out, and especially going side by side there too. That takes balls to do.
Yeah, I mean, was he on the one that say Matt Neal was saying he was going nearly 8 miles an hour faster?
No, 3 miles an hour faster.
3?
Yeah, it was 3.
Just like, it's absolutely crazy when you think about, those 3 miles an hour. It doesn't seem much, but you take it over a lap time. It's, and I mean, the race last meeting, how close that finish was as well. There's a real good battle building there, and although they were ranked outsiders at the beginning, I think Honda have got a real big chance at the team championship this year.
Do you know what? At the start of the season, all the talk was for BMR, with Plato, Turkington joining them. Honda were, as you said, completely off the radar. Got a new car. Car looks nice, by the way. The new Honda Civic Type R, much more better than the Super Tourer last year. That was just disastrous. But they've won 50% of the races so far. And I mean, all that we were talking about was BMR, Plato, Turkington, BMW, Andy Prio. Honda, they've just come out of nowhere and have won 50% of the races. I mean,
and that car's only going to get quicker as well because their factory involvement from Honda. Those are literally those parts.
And the Honda engine.
If they get anywhere near. I mean, is it actually a Honda engine? Because
it's a Honda engine. Yeah, Honda engine.
When they were actually in Dynamics, they used to use Neil Brown engines, hadn't they? And then they were sort of like, it was an NGTC spec. It was a Honda badged, but it was actually built by the guy who builds the bulk of the privateer team engines.
Yeah, and it's all coming to Thruxton as well. The Hondas are very good there. Got a lot of great success around there too. So
yeah, I mean, you know, you only had to see Andy Jordan taking it as an independent to the actual Honda team a few seasons back when they were all in Civics.
Yeah,
and you know, it's kind of makes you wonder what the future is for people like Andy Jordan, because I seriously believe personally that this could be Andy Jordan's last season in British touring cars going forward. And I've just got a sneaky feeling about it. I haven't heard anything officially, but I've just got a sneaky feeling. And the thought behind it for me is he's a Red Bull athlete, and Red Bull have poured fortunes into this global rallycross brand. And, you know, the prize money's a lot bigger. It's more of a global audience.
They do it big in America.
Yeah, and you know, and he could, yeah, with his previous rallycross experience, it could be that he dovetails rounds of, you know, certainly the Liddon Hill, the UK rounds, and guest drives for Red Bull and stuff like that. And also with Triple Eight, there's the ability to actually go forward and, you know, do some GT driving as well, Le Mans and things like that are perhaps a possibility for Andy Jordan in the future.
Could be, maybe.
You know, I just think that he's the only driver on the grid with that level of commitment from a big major international company like for me anyway, you know, somebody that's, I mean, I'm not saying they aren't, you know, massive companies sponsoring all the cars on the grids or all the drivers, but I'm trying to say like that I've got such a motorsports power and force of nature behind it, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, you know, the Red Bull could spend, you know, they've got their own TV production company that do all the rally championships. You know, if they wanted to start making 1-hour documentaries for ITV about Andy Jordan and his journey around the world doing GT driving and stuff as well. I mean, you know, he's media savvy guy. You know, he's the British. I personally think he's the British touring car equivalent to Guy Martin. That boy, you know, he's always got something to say, and it's always really good when he says it as well. For me.
I think if your suggestion would go out that he might be going rallycross next year, I think it'll be a big loss to the BTCC, because he was there since he was a teenager. What was 6, 17, you know, 18?
My thing to me is, why have Red Bull gone in for Andy Jordan if they're not then going to plaster Red Bull all over the car? Because if you look at all the other things that Red Bull put fortunes into, the first thing they do is plaster Red Bull all over the cars as well.
Yeah, and it's all sponsored by Pertec.
Yeah, and I mean, Pertec have been a very, very good sponsor all the way through and have supported him all the way through his career, whichever team he's gone with. And, you know, I think if he was in Global Rallycross, he'd take him with him because they're a major international company as well.
And also, maybe with the Red Bull stickers, if he does go rallycross it again, or global rallycross, sorry.
Yeah, I just think it's a really good opportunity for them to stick MG in global rallycross.
What car would they use though?
The same as they'd use the silhouette of the British touring car and just stick another 300 brake horsepower in it for me. If I was you know, the head of that particular rallycross team, I'd make it, you know, so he's in the BTCC on the Sunday, but Friday night on some American sports channel, he's in Los Angeles, you know, thrashing something else that looks identical cars. It looks like to the kids, he looks like he's in the same car.
Yeah, that's a shout. That could be a good shout.
I don't know. I'm trying to. I've got contacts in about the place, and I'm desperately trying in future episodes to get some drivers on here. And you know, I've got a guy who I work with, and he's desperately putting lots of feelers out for AJ at the moment. So please, if you see it and watching it, Andy, please, we want to speak to you. We know you're only down the road from where we are, so please, you know, come visit us. It'd be great to see you. And other drivers are also available. Let's get everybody involved, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.